Howdy folks, Elkrix here, and welcome to episode 47 of Thoughts from the Inner Sphere. And today we're going to delve into something that is a bit of a quandary. What to do with this thing, other than using it as a pure scout and electronic warfare type mech. Now, just looking at the mech itself, I've used it over the years. And it kind of has a niche, but you got to do a little bit of work because it's kind of like the early version, dare I say it, Omni-Mech of the sort. Kind of like the House Lyos delving into, let's try to do something a little bit different and finding some lost tech and using it. All right. Well, let's just look at this thing for a little bit here. Now, the Raven is a 5.80. Doesn't have jump jets. Yeah, it's a scout, so it should have jump jets. That's just plain and simple in my book. How do you get out of danger? It has 12 heat sinks, singles, in the year 3039. Okay. Let's just talk about that for a quick second after I get done with all that. And it carries 64 points of armor. Don't sneeze on this thing. You'll punch a hole in it. Just look at it, because it's like you look at the left and right torso. 6 points of armor. You hit this thing with anything, already punching a hole in it and doing crit chances. Carries for equipment 2 medium lasers in the right arm, a SRM-6 in the right torso with 1 ton of ammo, and it carries electronic warfare equipment, 7.5 tons. Alright, 7.5 tons electronic warfare. Now, the thing that comes to mind when you talk about electronic warfare, ECM and Beagle Probe. That adds up to 3 tons. What are we going to do with the other 4.5? I don't know. Makes you wonder, like, what's the other 4.5 tons for? Are they thinking about some experimental things like a narc beacon that they might have been working on? They just haven't figured out how to make it work yet? I don't know. Because dare say it, in 3039, I don't think there is a narc beacon yet. So what are you going to do with that 4.5 tons? Now, year 3039 is kind of in between that clan wars where the clans come back in and start rampaging through the inner sphere, trying to take Terra back, and the 3025 where you have mostly just archaic tech, what's left at the very bottom. That is pretty rudimentary when it comes to equipment. So at 3039, they're starting to do some experimentation. This is like one of the very first new mechs that have been designed and ready to hit the battlefield. And House Lyo, give them credit where credit's due. They are trying to produce something that's a little different, and it could be better. So what would you do? What do you do with this thing? All right, so if you're looking at 3039 and you got the electronic warfare, I'm going to put a Beagle Probe on this thing and a ECM. And that helps find things and prevents you from being hit with like tag and all that other stuff. But when you look at it, it doesn't really do the job. All right? How many Artemis units do you have in the 3025 tech? Raise your hand. I'm waiting. Oh, no. What? None? Oh, okay. So, it's a mech that is before its time. So, it's creating a technological advancement before it really can be used effectively for what it can do. Other than using the Beagle Probe, well, I'm fine and dandy. You could always find hidden units and everything. That's great. That hasn't changed. But the ECM, you're trying to shut down stuff that really... I'm at a loss what to do with this thing until 3050 rolls around, When 3050 hits and you get into the clan wars and you're starting to see all the tech, oh yeah, this thing is very, very handy. But for those 11 years, it's just an experiment that is still trying to find its niche in life. Now, what do I do with this thing? Now, if this advanced a few years, I like using this thing to run through target stuff, the usual. If you're just doing the basic spotting for an enemy, it does have that SRM6 and the 2 medium lasers. All right, so you are looking at the ability to not worry about heat with this thing, because you got 12 heat sinks, and the most you're going to do is 12. And short of having an engine hit, which is probably likely because you don't have any armor on this thing, that takes a couple hits and suddenly you might have an engine hit. This thing runs pretty cool. Now, when House Lao brought this thing out, there was a lot of skirmish wars and stuff with the Capella configuration and the Davian space. And the Davians did get their hands on a few. Now, let's just look at a couple variants here. Frederated Sons replaced the Capellan electronic warfare of their captured Ravens and designed the 2X. This variant replaces the electronic warfare equipment with a large laser and adds 2.5 tons of extra armor. Much needed. So yeah, if you're sitting with 7.5 tons of unused stuff that's supposed to go for electronic warfare equipment that isn't really being used or necessary at the time because everything's so backwater, why not put a large laser on this thing? If you have a large laser, you shoot out to 15 hexes, you have 12 heat sinks. Most you're going to do is 10, because if you shoot and run, you're going to do 210 heat, and you're not have to worry about too much. Alright, that's pretty decent. And when you get in close, you can just shut off that large laser and then go with the SRMs and the medium lasers. Alright, that's a good mech. Not bad. I can see that. And having 32 more points of armor will kick this thing up to 96, which is going to help this thing out a little longer in the battle. As you're sneaking around trying to, get into someone's flank, spotting for, let's say, a couple archers, a dervish, even a grasshopper for that matter. Not really a grasshopper, but it can work in conjunction. Just thinking wrong mech. But the other one, let's see, the Confederation tinkered with multiple armor. Oh wow, we're getting into some interesting tech there. Triple strength armor. Oh, what's that stuff? I don't know. It's not 3050 yet. The 3X increases its ground speed with the original triple strength. Okay. Alright, so the only problem is you got to heat up a little bit with that mech. The second compelling variant is the 4X, which is an attempt to turn the chassis into a pure combat unit, removing the electronic warfare equipment, and outfitting it with 4 or 5 jump jets. Good deal. 2 machine guns, 1.5 tons ammunition, or half, and armor protection to increase the chassis limit. Alright, so basically you're turning it into more of a anti-infantry combat unit. Okay. Still doesn't kind of solve the problem with the long range problem when it comes to doing any support. You might consider with that machine gun array possibly going with a LRM-5 just to give you some longer range. That might be something to think about. Now, what do I do with this thing? Well, I'm going to flash forward. We're going to the 3050 era. I'm picked my hands up on a few of these things as a mercenary commander on a battlefield. Did a little raid into Capellan space, working for Davians, and got a Raven or two. What am I going to do with this thing? I'm looking at it like, wow, okay. Alright, I'm going over to the market over there. We got the clans are rampaging through the north. They're needing all kinds of mercs to do stopgap, and they got unleash the here's the tech tree, and go shopping at the local tech grocery mart. And I'm gonna put on a big probe, a ECM unit. That's 3 tons. That leaves me 4.5 tons. I'm going to put on 2.5 tons for jump jets, and then I'm going to increase the armor. So we're back in action again. And the whole purpose of this mech is to protect my command units, get in there and get out and run about type of deal. And the whole purpose is to protect from getting hit with Artemis, finding hidden units, you name it. And when you need every advantage you can when it comes to facing the clans. Alright, it's those of you that face anything of that nature know those guys will rip you to pieces pretty quick. Not that a little bit of extra armor is really going to matter against the clans, but it's that little bit of extra is going to save you for 1 turn, maybe 2, before they turn you into Swiss cheese and you're a burning wreck and you're hitting the punch out button. But yeah, in the 3039, this mech is a mech that has a hard place to find a niche to run into. Short of, well, let's put it this way. If I had a Raven and I want to make it a pure combat mech and it's 3039, I picked my hands up on one, the ECM goes. Alright, gone. Don't have to worry about that. Maybe keep the Beagle Probe. That's 1.5 tons. So that leaves us with 6 left. Throw some armor on it. Throw some jump jets. And think about maybe putting in like an LRM-5 on this thing. Give it a little bit of extra long range punch with some armor. And then just turn it into a decent mech where you're going to find yourself behind some cover. Lay down some LRM fire. Spot. Run through the enemy, get into the flanks. That the usual thing where you're looking at finding an enemy that's kind of weak on a flank, get in there, hit the weak spots, trying to get into the torsos, you know, focus firing into an arc, you know. So if you see a right armor that's missing in an open space and you're seeing nothing but structure, get into that arc, just place fast as you can, either using the jump jets or running for that matter, and then focus fire into that and go crit hunting. Now that's basically how this mech works. Oh, I forgot to mention something. If you're in 3050, put double heat sinks on this thing. That's another 2 tons. You can put 10 doubles, another 2 tons that you can throw into armor, and maybe another medium laser. Oh yeah, great deal. But it's a mech that is too early in design for what it can be used for. So if you're throwing it into 3027, 3050, or 3025 era, a Raven is kind of like a mech that's before its time. It has all the stuff needed before it's needed. And like I said, fast forward 11, 12 years to the clan era. Oh yeah, this thing has its uses. Alright. Let's put your thoughts down below in this, what you think about this thing, and we'll talk with you later.